Eye on Gauteng, brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Economic Development.
Our next insight is going to look at the pharmaceutical industry. The Department of Economic Development in Gauteng wants to have a pharmaceutical hub. How does the pharmaceutical industry feel about this? Let's find out. The pharmaceutical industry has been singled out for attention. The Gauteng government wants to create a pharma hub where the industry will thrive in a special industrial zone.
South Africa imports more than 60% of the things that are consumed in the health sector, be it syringes, be it gloves, be it surgical instruments done that they use in hospital. Companies that are currently selling your surgical instruments are your Johnson & Johnson, your American companies or your German companies. So what we want to do really is to build capacity in South Africa, not only for the South African market, but also for the continent as a whole, the SADC region as well as the continent. I do believe that, again, having tested the market overseas from the US to Pakistan to all over India, and I'm glad to say that investors are more than ready to come into the country to come and invest.
Alongside the investor conference, an exhibition was in full swing. The idea was to expose some of the province's entrepreneurs to key decision makers that were in attendance.
We built the exhibition into it because I got concerned from time to time when people say to me, no, you cannot we do not have black buyers of all kind of types of things because they are not there. We then said, okay, fine, let's bring people who produce from furniture to whatever to say this is the capabilities that we have in the province. So this excuse of saying there are no buyers, there are no producers, it's not there. Of course, this is at a small scale. The intention really is to build this and make it a very sound exhibition where you can have your big buyers, your mass market, the Walmart now, and your smaller players coming on board working together.
We went to meet with some of them. SupplyCo is a marketing and sales arm of a number of safety apparel manufacturers.
We started off as a small family business with only 3 members to it, and we solely made fire uniforms. From there, the traffic department saw the quality of the uniforms we supplied, and we were asked to assist them. And systematically, we've just grown because of the quality and the service that we offer the South African market. And we've called our business into the government sector in helping the various public safety departments, but we are branching out now into the safety as well as into the security market as well. Coming to this show was vital for us as a company to present ourselves to the various government departments that were here today. And the big growth point for any South African company is improving your export market. First of all, it allows products to be made locally, shipped overseas, and the money to come back into South Africa rather than the other way around. For this show, that's the type of information that we've been given from the department and encouraged us to look at the export markets as well. Also, the other exhibitors on this show were interesting to me because we can liaise with each other and build our mutual companies, not just ours, but theirs as well.
Pioneer Plastics, a concern based in Roslyn, Pretoria, create plastic solutions for most specifications. Their motto is anything's possible.
Government is trying to do a lot of work to help us, to assist us with exporting and that type of thing. But I think there's a lot they can do just to try and, instead of spending money on various other ways, just help us in the manufacturing sector to create jobs and focus more on the manufacturing rather than just all these other programs to try and get buyers to see us and that type of thing.
Well, basically what we have here,
we stopped by the Ekurhuleni Jewelry Project stand. Not only were the pieces quite fetching, this was to be a story that we would follow up later on in this program.
well, people are very enthusiastic. Like so far, they're very impressed with our pieces because of their elegantness, and they are not like your usual pieces whereby most people like stones, but it's because of their simplicity that actually attracts them to us. Well, basically right now we have the pieces are mostly African inspired themes, and they're all made out of silver, and some of them, if you want them in gold, then we can make it for you in gold. The whole process is just basically we start from scratch, make everything from scratch, from all your metal, your melting, your rolling, your cutting, from your polishing and everything. So if you want a specific design for yourself, then we also do that for you.
Small players there might be, but if the Gauteng economy grows at the rate it needs to, these businesses could break into the mainstream and take their place as some of the country's leading industries.
Gauteng economy is a city-driven economy, and therefore in all what we do, we must have a strategy that looks into the requirements and the needs of the city, and that drives our plan in terms of how we roll out and expand the economy. And that brought up plans such as the development of infrastructure in telecommunications for rolling out of broadband in Gauteng, which was a program which was rolled out to a number of schools, but also to make sure that business grows in there. We supported the development of Santen as a banking hub. We supported Tshwane as a motor city, and therefore what that has done was to look into the nodes of Gauteng being developed into within their comparative advantages, and that is the plans that we've been looking at in terms of growing the economy of Gauteng.
Gauteng in particular is better positioned in terms of its infrastructure. It has the most world-class airports. It has, you can see the roads are getting better, but also facilities, as you know, that it's also becoming your financial hub. So it becomes a very, very important province and properly located within the country. So I think they've got a very, very important role to play. I must also say that Gauteng has a history of mining. Despite that, they're not mining. But you find that your major houses, mining houses, are located here. So it also creates an opportunity for the mining houses and investors who are coming into South Africa, including the rest of Africa, to use South Africa as a gateway to the rest of Africa. And as the Minister knows that there's a lot of requests and a lot of enthusiasm by various investors who want to locate in South Africa and move towards the rest of Africa. And Gauteng serves as that hub which creates that opportunity.
This factory is South Africa's #2 baby formula producer. It's one of 4 operations owned by Aspen, Africa's largest generics drug maker and the 9th biggest in the world. The factory is based in Gauteng's East Rand and is a major employer in nearby Tembisa. Stavros Nikolaou is the company's senior executive in charge of strategy. A qualified pharmacist himself, he sees his industry in turmoil.
I think if we've got a level playing field, then I think Aspen has certainly proven that it has the capability to compete globally. If you look at our conversion costs in this country, we've certainly proven through the antiretroviral tender and various other tenders that given an equal playing field, Aspen can certainly compete. So government's recognition that there has to be a level playing field, which government is starting to now recognize, and executing some of its plans and strategies around it, such as the preferential procurement framework regulatory amendment that took place recently, and coordinating around it and making sure that the entire hub of government is behind it is critical to addressing that environment. And I think if we've got that environment, Aspen and other companies will continue to grow.
Despite the difficult environment, Aspen has risen to become the 9th biggest generic drug maker in the world. In the process, they have certainly caught the attention of the Gauteng government.
Whether it's provincial or national, I think you are starting to see that recognition.
A country like South Africa with a high disease burden cannot afford to leave their destiny in the hands of offshore exporters.
The first is South Africa has one of the worst disease burdens globally. You know, we've got the worst of your infectious, developing country type of diseases like HIV, AIDS, TB, those type of diseases. And then on the other hand, you've got an emerging what's called westernized type of diseases like your cardiovascular diseases, diabetes. So you're really cursed with the worst of both worlds here. So I think that disease burden requires a response from the pharmaceutical industry, and that response has to be to have as much capacity locally and self-sufficiency, so then you're not dependent on exporters, and you're not placing your future in the hands of exporters. And you're developing homegrown industries here that can respond to all those pandemics. The second reason is pharmaceuticals and medical devices are the 5th biggest contributor to the country's current account deficit. And we all know the importance of trying to reduce that current account deficit. So if you're able to be more self-sufficient domestically, you're able to move into an export orientation with pharmaceuticals, you'll begin to bridge that gap, and your current account deficit position, your trade deficit position will begin to improve. And then lastly, pharmaceuticals are high value, high tech products. They do provide export potential, and I think Aspen has proven this. You know, Aspen has proven that it can use a South African or domestic platform to develop quite a significant global footprint. And we've done that in a very short space of time. That provides a lot of domestic opportunities, both at a manufacturing level and also even at a level of skills development, skills retention. So you're able to achieve that, which is absolutely consistent with where we want to take the country and certainly where Aspen wants to take its business to in the future.
Pharmaceuticals are a high-value, high-tech, labor-intensive industry. This factory is a case in point. Karen Purchase is a factory manager here. She has been with the company for some 20 years now and knows all her staff by name.
We've been manufacturing since 1964. Many people here are, at 21 years, I think I'm still the spring chicken. Many people have been here much longer than I have. So we have huge loyalty. We were a facility in Isando and we've relocated to Tembisa, and all our staff around here are from Tembisa. So in terms of transport, that's a huge plus for us and for the people that work here. As well as from a gender perspective, as you can see if you look around the facility, we support women on the packing lines, and because we're in close proximity to where they live and safety being one of our primary concerns, we supply the transport, but home is just 3 to 5 to 10 kilometers away. So that I encourage. And as you can see when you look around, we have a lot of women on our lines. From our point of view, our quality is absolutely 100%. The consumer can be very confident of the formula when they purchase the formula. We are ISO 22000 accredited, and in terms of food safety and international standards, that is the best accreditation that you can get for this facility.
For this industry to survive locally, a vibrant supply industry would need to support it.
So I would love to see local dairy players get involved in supporting us so that we can procure from a local source, and especially with regards to the quality. When you mention skim milk powder, ours is a very high standard, and we need that standard for infant formula. So we need a lot of support there. We need to stimulate that industry.
If economic prosperity is directly related to internet access, the Gauteng province will need to intervene to make cheap broadband internet accessible for the majority of its residents. They say Gauteng province is falling behind some African countries such as Rwanda and Kenya when it comes to ICT and broadband infrastructure. Here we are at the Gauteng Fund offices in Sandton to find out what is the strategy of the province in terms of ICT and broadband going forward. We're here to meet a gentleman by the name of Canca, who's going to tell us exactly what that strategy is. Let's find out. The Gauteng Fund is something of an incubator for key ICT technologies in the province. Canca is the project leader for Gauteng's ICT strategy. We sat down with him to find out what plans were afoot to ensure that Gauteng's ICT strategy went together with its payoff line, the Smart Province. Please give us an overview of the Gauteng government's ICT strategy going forward.
Okay, the objectives is basically to provide universal broadband access to citizens, business, as well as government, and also to create employment through ICT, as well as skills development, and lowering the carbon footprint to green ICT. Those are one of the key drivers or objectives of the ICT strategy.
In terms of achieving those objectives, what kind of government interventions are currently taking place or need to take place for us to get there?
Currently, the government has started a couple of interventions which we are basically just finalizing the economic benefits of those projects. One of those projects being the Gauteng link, or as it's known as the G-Link, which is basically us rolling out broadband access to 95% of the Gauteng region, as well as some of the intervention that we've just initiated is having pilots in different townships. We've just recently gone out on a tender to ensure that we get a service provider for us to run a pilot in Alexander, that will then give us the real benefits of what happens once we've got broadband into an area like Alexander. I mean, how it will stimulate the economic activity in those areas. Yeah, those are some of the few interventions that we've got.
We've been hearing a lot about the fact that South Africa is slipping in its position as far as ICT on the continent. When the system is fully functional, where will we be in the pecking order?
Well, basically, the intention is for us to be the leader within the continent, and through the broadband rollout, I mean, the other interventions that we will have to ensure is that people in those communities have got access to computers, and in line with that as well, we'll ensure that there are services that the people are using, which is rolling out e-government services and community computer centers, to ensure that as South Africa, we have created a lot of employment through ICT, because the potential is great, because now that your SMMEs will be able to compete in the global arena, and as well as opportunities for local content development that needs to be obviously provided through this broadband, as well as allowing us to have solutions like your IPTV, which will be received all across, and video on demand. Those are some of the things that we'll be able to provide. But the biggest, I think the biggest impact that it will have is that it is going to stimulate a lot of economic activity and create a lot of employment, as well as, I mean, having Gauteng being a knowledge economy. Those are the benefits, basically, that we're looking at getting.
In terms of the economic impact of a fully functional ICT broadband infrastructure, what are some of those economic impacts, and how is it going to affect the lives of youth and entrepreneurs in the province?
The potential for people in your townships, it's really enormous, because people will be able to be creative, to be innovative. By having broadband access, is that you'll be able to create applications, put them there. I mean, people will be able to communicate in the global arena, and it will no longer be a segregation whereby people in the townships don't have any form of communicating, as well as being able to compete in the global arena. By having this broadband, the impact, like I said, it will be really an opportunity for our youth in the country, and particularly in Gauteng, to ensure that they take ownership of these solutions, and make sure that through local content creation, they're able to provide something that it's not out there in the world.
The two-day conference ended with some clear direction on the way forward. MEC Mahlangu has her work cut out for her in terms of expectations of what needs to be done.
I'm extremely happy with the content of what was discussed in the conference, and of course we've laid the foundation of a striking partnership with the SOEs, with the private sector, and with the ordinary business people from small to big, and I'm quite excited about the outcome of the conference.
And after all is said and done, what do potential investors say about bringing their business here?
Look, first of all, I have to say that the infrastructure situation of this province is huge, beautiful, and so we really feel very comfortable with this kind of infrastructure. Then people is very well trained, is very well educated, and so to interact for us, it's easy. And I have to tell you, we feel very, very similar with our culture to your culture, with European culture and South African culture. So it's we really feel home here in Gauteng.
But with new oil wells springing up in Ghana, and Kenya and Rwanda making the early march in information technology, Gauteng will have to do much more than provide good infrastructure to stay ahead.